I would say that one thing that I learned a lot from working with Dr. Gonzalez is really going the extra two steps when working on a project. So, not just like getting the project done, but then thinking about, okay, like what's the next thing that I want to be doing or want to achieve when working on a project. And that has really helped me not only with my work in the lab, but in all different regards in my academic life and in my professional development endeavors.
If there's one thing I learned from Dr. Gonzalez is patience. I've never been patient my entire life. I've always been trying to rush into things and making decisions and making sure those decisions happen so quickly, but this year I've learned that I can take my time for myself and to figure things out. And for that, I'm really grateful. Thank you so much, Dr. Gonzalez.
I feel like I learned so much this semester. I'd never really done a full literature review, and also learning to code in Stata was something really, really new to me. And I think the way that you organize the research process in general made it all seem much more manageable. And I feel like through this process I've learned how to ask the right questions in a research setting and where to find those answers. And I also learned that you can get a lot done while also taking care of yourself.
Learned from Dr. Gonzalez to look at data and situations from unique angles. I really think he's trained me to become more creative with how I solve problems.
So last semester, Gilbert brought me onto his team without really knowing much about me or without me having very much experience related to public health research. But since then, since he took a chance on me, I was able to learn so much last semester, and it's really informed my future career decisions. And now I know that I want to do public health and population health research in the future. So thank you so much, Gilbert, for teaching me so much of what I needed to know and taking a chance on me.
One thing I've learned from working with Professor Gonzalez is to just have an open mind. Going into the project I worked on this semester, I really didn't have much experience with health disparities research or health policy research, but after learning more about smoking disparities among sexual minority groups, I really gained a newfound appreciation for the issue in general, and a new interest in it as well.
Having worked for Gilbert now for 2 years, I feel like it's more about like what haven't I learned from him. He's taught me a large proportion of what I know about conducting research, and that goes from doing a literature review to using Stata to run analyses and getting results and drafting a manuscript and actually writing scientifically. Thank you. He's taught me so much about that. And also, being able to take our findings and present them at national conferences to broad audiences, and he's taught me about jobs and graduate school programs and just a number of things. Mentorship, how to invest in somebody, how to invest in somebody's career and personal growth. I've just been really grateful to have him as a mentor and a research advisor for the past 2 years.
The most memorable moments I've had with Dr. Gonzalez was really like during lab meetings. And lab meetings as a whole was something that was very new to me. I've been in multiple labs before, but I never had lab meetings with other lab members. And getting to listen to everyone talk and then have like Dr. Gonzalez lead the discussions was always something that I really appreciated. It was something that I always look forward to at the end of the week, and definitely those are experiences that I will always cherish and really look forward to when I work in research positions in the future.
My most memorable experience, since this is my first semester in the lab, was just the lab meetings. Every Friday it was always an hour before class, and I was always studying for my Korean quiz, but it was always great to find people that I can relate to and find other people who are super passionate. And with that, I'm hoping in the future I can find other workplaces and other jobs that can foster that same environment, that same culture.
If I hadn't been in your lab this semester, I would know so much less about how to conduct research. I really felt like you listened to my ideas when we met and were really understanding when something wasn't working. And I really appreciate you always checking in with how I'm doing and how my other classes are going. I'm really grateful to have been able to work with you this semester, and I feel like I've learned so much.
Hi, Professor Gonzalez. I just wanted to say thank you so much for bringing me onto your team and for giving me the opportunity to submit an abstract to IAPHS. I'm so excited to see where this project goes and excited to get to know you some more and work with everyone on the team.
I don't even think I'd have been able to finish my thesis if it wasn't for his guidance and friendliness. He's really been a positive force in my life this year, and I'm really, really fortunate to have had him as my mentor.
Last summer at a program for minority pre-med students, I took a health equity research class where we got to do research on a health disparity of our choice, and I decided to do research into mental health disparities for trans people and what are risk factors for that. I kind of thought that after I did the lit review, I was never going to be able to touch the material again. But when I reached out to Gilbert saying I wanted to do research, he was super receptive, and now we're writing a manuscript. So really excited to have worked with him this year.
One thing that wouldn't have been possible without being in Professor Gonzalez's lab is just learning from the other students in the lab about, their specific passions in healthcare and their projects that they're working on. And I think that was one of the main things I took away, is that everyone has a different passion, but it's all on the same overarching topic. So it was really cool just seeing how those projects developed throughout the semester, and seeing how everyone's overall thesis or independent study kind of turned out as well.
If it hadn't been for my research experience with Gilbert, there are so many things I wouldn't have been able to do. We've put out a number of papers, either that have been accepted or are currently under review. I was able to do an honors thesis thanks to his supervision and guidance. I was also able to present as an undergraduate at not only one national conference, but a second one, both IAPHS and APHA, which I feel incredibly grateful for. And I mean, there are so many different events and grants and just random things that I had never dreamed of, that all the time I'm just he's just sending things my way. Hey, what about this?
So one of the funniest moments that I have with Dr. Gonzalez is during one of our very first meetings. We were discussing career plans and things that I was interested in doing in the lab. And he was typing something on the computer and looking really intently at a document. And he goes, "Talk to me." And I go, "Yes." And that was just my response. And we both started cracking up. It was probably one of the funniest moments that I can remember. It'll always stand out in my mind.
Moments are listening to him fanboy over a new book he's reading and catching him off guard with my sense of humor.
My favorite memory with Dr. Gonzalez happened one afternoon where we were talking about my career goals and pursuing a master's in healthcare administration, and he started testing me in my capabilities of responding and thinking like healthcare administration, and from there I knew this is the right path to take, and it's all thanks to him.
I think one of the funniest memories with Professor Gonzalez this semester was in his MHS class. I think it was the first week of class, and I misdefined what Medicare was. And then he said, if there's one thing you're going to learn from this class, it's what Medicare is and what Medicaid is. And if you make that mistake again, it's going to, I'm going to haunt you, basically. And so, even sometimes when I kind of make that mistake in my head, I'll always think back to that and him saying that. So he's kind of haunted me in that sense.
Okay, so there are, far too many moments where we have just laughed to the point of tears. But I think one of my favorites was when we were on the flight back from Philadelphia from the APHA conference, and I can't even remember all that we talked about, but I just remember us laughing hysterically over a bunch of things and people just looking at us like, "Who are you? And could you please laugh a little quieter or something to be less disturbing?" but also I will think back to the outlet in your office just beyond your desk, and I'm sorry that I didn't ask to use it the first time that I did, but I know that we will always think back to the laughs of my laptop always needing it.